What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Going Over Big Time podcast. My name is Mike Charlip, and I am joined again by my co host, the fantastic Alan. And today we are here to discuss our predictions, or at least some our card predictions for Forbidden Door 2024. This has been a thing that we've done every year. Of course, it is the AEW New Japan combined pay-per-view event that they do once a year now, and I've been entertained by this show every year. There's always something um, huge on these shows, and I think that this is going to be a good one. And I'm not just saying that because I will be there. So Alan, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. The last couple of weeks has been a lot of wrestling going on, and I think we're still kind of in the. I feel like we're still in a post WrestleMania period where I think things have finally shifted in the industry, where the top player of this genre has actually finally started to try to make their product entertaining and popular with the audience. And I think ABW has stepped up their game a little bit. Um, the biggest story, of course, is the Tony Khan incident, where apparently Tony himself has now inserted himself as a possible character down the road in his own show.
Sure.
Tony's always been in the backstage. He's even commented that he absolutely hated to be on camera, to taking time away from his own talent. But we come to a point where they had to include him to advance certain storylines, and here we are. So we are still waiting, as of this recording, for Double or Nothing 2024 on May
Yes.
26th, live at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Vegas.
Yes.
They're back in Vegas once again. AEW was celebrating they're literally their fifth anniversary at this pay-per-view, because they started at Double or Nothing in 2019.
Yes.
And
we've talked about in the past how they need to move their annual pay-per-views that they've done. I mean, the big pay-per-views that they've done, especially these two, Forbidden Door and not Forbidden Door, Double or Nothing and All Out, being in the same building, in the same state, in the same city every year is just not a good look, because they're flooding that market. I mean, especially this one. I mean, this show, Double or Nothing, that is coming up, is during one of the most busiest weekends, and during it's Memorial Day weekend in America,
mm-hmm.
and yeah, it's crazy that they continue to have this show in the same vicinity every year. And we talked about it last year that they needed to move it, and they didn't. So
Well, yeah, I think what the challenge for them is, Double or Nothing is sort of like a gambling theme.
sure.
And look, yeah, there are other places that represent a gambling venue besides Las Vegas, but it's the biggest one,
Yes,
so everybody wants to go there. I mean,
of course.
we just saw WrestleMania 41 change from what was predicted to be in Minneapolis, Minnesota, to Vegas. NXT's Battleground is taking place in the, what do you call it, the UFC
Mm-hmm.
in Vegas. And
Yeah.
Vegas is taking people are getting a renewed interest in Vegas for like various reasons, one of which is the infamous Las Vegas Sphere that's really
Yes.
caught the eye of everyone. So there are other places. I don't mind seeing like a Double or Nothing in, say,
Yeah.
I don't know, just pulling off the top of my head.
So This
New
is
Orleans.
obviously this is a topic for another time, but
Yeah, of course.
just to add to I guess what we are talking about, which is card predictions for Forbidden Door. This is the first year that they're doing this show where a lot of the very big names in New Japan who were in New Japan are now in AEW. So guys like Will Ospreay and Kazuchika Okada, who were last year at this time two of the two biggest names, I think, or two of the biggest names in New Japan at the time, are now representing AEW. So that, I think, creates new opportunity for other people to step up in New Japan, to have opportunities to be here, as well as the potential of including people from CMLL or you know, other companies. Um it will always be AEW X New Japan presents Forbidden Door, but including other companies, I think, is a possibility down the line.
Yeah, looking. I mean, AEW had recently done a number of crossover shows with CMLL,
Yeah.
featuring some of the top stars from that Mexico promotion.
Yep.
Also with some renewed partnership with Stardom recently,
Yes.
upon the departure of their former founder Rossi Ogawa, who
Yes.
was leaning more towards closer ties with WWE. That's another story that kind of
Hmm.
spun off. It just
Yes.
spun off a new promotion as a result of Ogawa leaving Stardom. And yeah, some of the Stardom wrestlers or women Joshi
Well,
wrestlers have
as
been.
as soon as Ogawa was gone, we started seeing Stardom talent in AEW,
Mm,
and I think that was very telling as to the relationship that Ogawa had with other promotions,
yeah.
specifically AEW. Um, because we talked about last year how there should have been Stardom involvement. Stardom ended up having a show the same night in Japan as Forbidden Door,
Mm.
so that didn't even work out scheduling wise, unless they just didn't put some people on their show that year. But there ended up being nobody from Stardom in AEW until late last year. We didn't start seeing Stardom talent show up in AEW again since Ogawa left, which was, I believe, October, right?
Mm.
I think it was around that
Yeah,
time.
I think it was around October.
So what I put together a card like I do every year, and again, this is kind of me fantasy booking matches that I want to see and matches I think that we're going to see. So
How many
obviously,
matches?
I put down the same number of matches that was on the card last year, which was 14.
Okay.
Um, obviously, I don't know how many pre-show matches we'll have. Last year there was a dark match that didn't even get aired, and um, yeah. So I obviously tried to do my best to put together a card that looks good on paper and I guess makes sense. Um, so I had something put together, and then I had to change a few things after uh, the May 15th episode of Dynamite, which where we're recording right after this that event. So I guess we'll kick it off. Um, a match that I put on here kind of just because I want these two guys on the show. I don't know if this would be a pre-show match. I assume it probably would be at this point because some of the other matches I have down, if they were to happen, would be more considered main card. But um, I put down Claudio versus Jeff Cobb.
Mm.
Um, I just think it would be a cool match to have, considering I I'm certain these guys have worked in the past. I don't know that off the top of my head, but I just feel like it would be cool to see these two guys go at it in this environment, in this setting, considering they are both very similar in style, both very athletic, very strong, very similar styles, and just getting Claudio, obviously one of the best in the world, just deserves to be on this show, and um, because I have other things going on for his brethren in the Blackpool Combat Club. So I just wanted to get him on here, and I think this would be a fun match just to showcase the ability of both guys.
Yeah, actually, there is a bit of a tie-in in relation to this prediction because, as of our recording right now, the Dynamite that happened on May 15, Mox and Danielson teamed up to beat Kyle Fletcher and Jeff Cobb,
Mm-hmm.
two guys who were formerly in the United Empire.
Yes.
Um, in terms of this story, Jeff Cobb was brought in as a hired gun of Don Callis because, well, Hobbs has been sidelined with an injury.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, the Don Callis family is down a guy. So Don is like, he picked somebody that Fletcher is definitely familiar, Kyle Fletcher is familiar with.
Yeah.
Obviously, they were Cobb and Fletcher were not successful, but with the BCC tie in there,
Yeah.
Claudio and Cobb should be a
Yeah,
fun
and
little.
and I put that match down without even thinking of that possibility, like knowing I knew about that tag match happening on Dynamite. It was just that I kind of in my head it just seemed like a fun match to do, and then it just happened to tie in to what happened on Dynamite. So but of course, Forbidden Door at time of recording is over a month away, so they could easily just do this match on Dynamite at some point.
Yes.
And um so yeah, that's the first match that I put down. I'm gonna talk about this match now, just because even though I assume Jericho will be on the main card because he always is, but I'm just gonna talk about it now and get it out of the way. Every single Forbidden Door show, I mean, there's only been two, but at each Forbidden Door show, Jericho has had a multi-man or a trios match where Minoru Suzuki is on his team. So I did that again. Uh, I got Jericho, Big Bill, and Suzuki versus Hook, Shibata, and El Desperado.
Ooh, okay.
Um, so obviously the Hook and Shibata team just makes sense because they are our team right now. El Desperado has the history with Suzuki. Um, so
Aren't Desperado and Suzuki still kind of like teaming occasionally, even though
well,
Suzuki Gun is disbanded?
Suzuki is no longer under contract with New Japan.
Oh, okay, okay.
He is now a freelance talent.
Ah,
Um, and for a while they were in a group called Strong Style.
yeah.
Strong Style something
Mm-hmm.
with Ren Narita, who
Right.
is now part of House of Torture.
Mm.
Um, so Suzuki's kind of on his own. El Desperado's kind of on his own. So I just kind of threw El Desperado in here just because it lined up with the fact that Jericho and Big Bill are working with Hook and Shibata right now and have been for a while. And I don't expect that it'll end whenever they have this another singles match between Jericho and Hook. I assume that will last longer, like most Jericho feuds. That's why I put this on here. Obviously, I could be totally wrong. I could be totally wrong, and Hook could face Jericho at Double or Nothing and beat him, and it's just over.
Yeah. I'll throw in my own little prediction of what'll happen here. See, I predict Suzuki will finally get tired of Chris Jericho and just slap the shit out of that learning tree and
That
just
is
abandon these two in the ring.
so. I
Because
believe
like
this
this
was a
learning
prediction
tree
of ours
character is
last
very
year.
funny. This learning tree character is very funny Jericho is acting as though like he's a good guy, but he's just
Yeah.
nauseatingly pissing people off. And
Yes.
then, and I definitely do not think the legendary veteran Minoru Suzuki will take kindly to being treated as though he had to
Well,
learn from a learning tree.
so you say that, but last year we assumed that this would happen because Jericho and Sammy Guevara always had that weird relationship
Weird relationship. Yeah.
where they were like father son quote unquote relationship where they were like always like posing in the ring and
Yeah.
doing stupid shit. And
Mhm.
so we obviously made that assumption last year that he wouldn't deal with that either, and he did. So I mean, it's very possible that this is the year that that happens, but it's also very possible that Suzuki is not there. Um, but I just figured it just made sense. This is what Jericho does at Forbidden Door, has done at Forbidden Door. So what the hell, right? The next match that I will throw out is a match that I tried to pitch last year that I think is definitely going to happen this year. Bullet Club Gold versus Bullet Club War Dogs. I
Yeah.
think it's time. It's time to do this.
Who is
There,
the real Bullet Club? Will the real
there,
Bullet Club please stand up?
there is no other time to do this than at Forbidden Door. And of course, we said this last year, and there was no Bullet Club War Dogs at all. Not even a hint last year. But you've had Gabe Kidd doing stuff in America. You've had David Finlay doing stuff in America.
Mm-hmm.
Clark Connors has appeared on these shows before, so that's the team that I put together.
So Gabe Kidd, Clark Connors, and
David Finlay
David Finlay. Yeah.
against the Guns and Jay White.
Right. And
Eh,
at
eh,
this point, yeah, I guess it's just a 3-on-3 at this point because Juice Robinson is nowhere near close to coming back.
yeah.
Um, yeah. I think that's a good pick. David Finlay is definitely still the leader of, if I guess they call themselves Bullet Club War Dogs. Also, I just think they're just OG Bullet Club.
Yeah.
Gabe Kidd, however, he's been impressing me a lot. I saw his interview on, I think it was like the local news station
Mm-hmm.
in the last promoting in last New Japan pay-per-view.
Ontario, California.
Right, Southern California, and I was just like, wow, this guy, okay, he knows how to talk, so he knows how to,
And
get you on.
he's very entertaining in and out of the ring. He has good matches. He's really growing into this character that he plays all the time. He's really good. And I mean, we've seen Clark Connors before. He's also very good. So yeah, I think it's just time to finally do this. These two teams have kind of like thrown little jabs at each other, but not really mentioning each other
Yeah, I
by
mean,
name. They always say like, "Oh, we're the real Bullet Club" and whatever, and
yeah, I mean,
so
I'd be interested in see how the build is because Bullet Club
the
Gold,
issue
the
is
issue
it's
Bullet
two
Club
heel
Gold,
teams.
yeah, right, but the Bullet Club Gold hasn't been booked very well in the last couple of months. I mean, there was that brief alliance with the Guns at the Acclaim for a while, and then it was just like it was just kind of flat. It was just like
Yeah,
trying to see Jay White and the Guns like being like baby faces in this super group, which united for a purpose that they never really executed on, and then just kind of break up again. And then we're like, okay, good, they're back to being the usual selves. But lately, it's just like kind of, I don't know what's going on. I mean, what bothers me, and I think it bothers you too, is why are they still carrying the acclaimed version of these Ring of Honor of the AEW World Trios titles
so
when you can just go back to the original versions?
I had people who saw I because I tweeted about this and I said, "Why is Jay White carrying 3 belts? Why?" And
He's just so many titles that he needs to use Sting's bat, which he now
and
painted
well,
gold,
that's
to
what
carry them
everybody
all.
everybody was saying like, "Oh, it's the visual of him having them all and showing them off, and it looks like he has multiple championships, so it makes him look more strong." And I was
No,
like,
I
"Yeah,
think it just
but
looks stupid.
I just don't care though. Get rid of the pink belts and get rid of the ROH belts. Just
Well, yeah, okay, I'll get rid of the pink belts because those were custom made for another team. They can literally just go back to the reverse version of the trios titles because they are Bullet Club Gold and the fucking titles are gold. As for this whole unified AEW trios Ring of Honor 6-man champions, I believe they are still seen as two separate sets of championships and not like
I
one title.
I would just combine them and float them between shows, but that's just me.
Yeah, but
I
yeah,
mean,
I digress. I've been yeah,
there's no champions on ROH ever except for Athena. So and now Billy Starks.
yeah.
So it's like why even have those belts in the first place? Just get
Well,
rid of them.
yeah, they gotta like start ramping up if they're actually serious about this time. If this is the plan, they gotta start seriously ramping up Bullet Club Gold and having them go back
And
to how they're saying, yeah, we are the real Bullet Club. You know, not whoever
and
else
they're
out there
they're
calls themselves.
teasing Death Triangle going after these belts again,
I'm
and I'm
like,
just like why? I don't want to see that. I mean, I love Pac, I love Penta, I love Phoenix, but I'm better off with Pac being a singles guy and the Lucha Bros being a tag team.
Death Triangle's legacy as trio champions would is going to be there forever and would never be outmatched. They did an incredible best of 7 series with the
Of
Elite,
course.
so nobody's going to ever forget that. So for them to go back, try to run it back is sure maybe down the road at some time when the pop for a Death Triangle reunion is a little more stronger. But right now it's just kind of like, do I really care? Not really.
I mean, I would prefer to see a Jay White versus Pac singles match. That's what I would prefer to see. But then you're not defending the trios titles, which is annoying in itself. Because I mean, again, we'll talk about this when we talk about Double or Nothing when it happens, but at Double or Nothing, you're not defending the tag titles and you're not defending the Continental belt because they're both in an anarchy match. So if you have Jay White versus Pac in a singles match, then that's another belt that you're not defending at Double or Nothing. But again, I digress. Uh, should this match between Bullet Club Gold and War Dogs be for the Trios Championship? Sure, why the hell not? Because if that's the case, Bullet Club Gold is winning. Because Bullet Club War Dogs is never on this show, so why would they stick around just to defend belts that they could possibly, you know? So I just want this match to happen. It's time. It's time to stop putting it aside. Just do it and get it over with. All right. So the next match that I will discuss here that I put down. All right. I guess I'll talk about this one now. I originally didn't have this down because I tried predicting it twice already and it has not happened. And I don't know if they're saving it for something, if there's like a reason why we're not getting it in the first 2 years. And I get you have to have stuff to be excited for down the line because you're going to keep doing this show and have matches that you've never seen before that you want to do. And as we discussed, Darby Allin just returned from injury, and we had no idea that he would be doing so because we thought he would be out until at least like August or something because he was going to heal up and then he was going to climb a mountain.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want to do after getting run over by a car. You want to go climb Mount Everest.
So
And apparently not because he's back.
if you have seen our other prediction card shows for this pay-per-view, then you would know that I'm talking about a match that I have predicted twice and has not happened, but I think needs to happen now. Darby Allin versus Hiromu Takahashi.
I knew you were going there.
I originally wasn't going to put it down because I didn't think Darby was going to be cleared.
Yeah, you're right, exactly.
So I
And then
was like,
suddenly he's here, and I'm like, oh, okay.
yeah. So then suddenly he's here, and I was like, all right, I'm putting this down again because it needs to happen. It's the match that we want to see Darby Allin have at this show. Uh, we've seen Darby Allin have multi-man matches at this show. Last year, he teamed with Sting and Shingo, and I think what was there more than 3 partners? I don't really. I don't
Sting,
even.
Shingo, and Darby versus.
Uh
That was the first double.
oh no, it was Naito
Yeah, last
against.
year was Naito and
Yeah, it
Sting
was
and Darby.
it
Yeah,
was Naito against
I remember.
Jericho.
Oh, yeah,
It was the Suzuki match.
yeah. The 6-man Suzuki match. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So I want I just need to see this match. I need to see this match.
Well, why don't you write a sternly worded letter to Tony Khan, or just tweet at him like every week? I want Darby versus Hiromo. Darby, Hiromo. I want the time bomb versus the. I don't know. Darby is some kind of bomb. I don't know. He bombs himself occasionally a lot of times. I'll be honest.
Yes.
Yeah.
But again, and this is not. It's just because I'm yes, I'm going to be there, so it would be great for me to finally get this match while I am in the presence of the event.
Imagine they
But
just screw it on some New Japan show. Darby just
yeah,
pops up in New Japan for some reason.
they do it on like Capital Collision or some shit.
Oh, damn it.
I would be so mad.
Oh boy. It's
But Darby hasn't appeared on any New Japan strong shows. So
yeah, that is true.
the only Japanese show he's done was that Noah show where they teamed with
The
the
Great
Great
Muta
Muta.
is retirement. That was it. That wasn't even
So
New Japan. That was yeah.
Noah.
Yeah, that was Noah. Yeah,
So
you're right.
so yeah, I need to see this match. These guys, both of these guys, absolutely rule. The style is so similar. I just want to see this match. I can't. I just can't. I can't say anything else other than I need to see it. So there it is. I'm shooting my third shot on this one. I don't know what I'm gonna do if it doesn't happen. I'm just gonna keep predicting it until it happens.
Oh
Uh,
man.
all right, the next match that I put down, and again, this is kind of going back to the thing we talked about with Claudio and Jeff Cobb, and I was trying to find something for Shota Umino to do on this show because, of course, last year he was in a big multi-man match with the Blackpool Combat Club against the Elite. So, and we just recently seen Shota Umino have a great match against John Moxley for the New Japan World IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. So I'm sure that that relationship has gotten stronger. And of course, we saw on the May 15th episode of Dynamite, Konosuke Takeshita attacked John Moxley. So obviously they're going to do that match at some point. But on this show, I want to see Shota Umino versus Konosuke Takeshita. And again, this kind of just lined up with it. And again, this was another match that I kind of just put down because I thought this would be cool to see. And then this Callis family BCC stuff kind of just started lining up. So it was kind of just worked out by mistake. And again, it's early. I mean, we're talking about a show that's a month away. But yeah, I mean, I feel like this would be a great match. I mean, we've seen Konosuke Takeshita have absolute bangers with Will Ospreay, with Claudio, with so many people on this roster already, and he hasn't really worked a lot of New Japan talent. He was at the All Together show, the All Come Together show where he did a multi-man match. This was the Japanese show that brought together all of the biggest Japanese uh,
Ah,
federations like Noah and All Japan. I don't know if All Japan was at this one, but Noah was there. DDT was there. All the big New Japan shows that are part of that new governing body of Japanese wrestling.
right.
He was on that show. So yeah, I just want Shota Umino to keep getting better. He is one of the bright young stars that is going to carry New Japan into the future. And again, go out of your way to see that John Moxley match. I highly recommend it. Um, but yeah, I think that this is a match that would fit right in on this show for obvious reasons.
Cool.
Yeah. You have nothing to add about that?
No, I mean, I mean, Shota. I mean, other than him looking like the next Okada, I mean, and knowing that, and just knowing that he's like sort of a John Moxley protege.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's been built up, and like having him like wrestle outside of New Japan against. I'm sorry, who did you say you wanted him to face again?
Takeshita.
Well, okay, got it. Yeah, actually, that is a what that actually makes some sense because they teamed together. I think last year in Forbidden
Yes,
Door.
Takeshita was
Yeah,
in that
yeah,
multi-man match
exactly.
against
Yeah,
the
right.
Elite.
Yeah, yeah. So this is definitely a good natural segue a year later, as they both are now extremely good. Takesha has now beaten Kenny Omega twice and has become something, and Jericho. He's beaten Jericho, I think.
Yes.
Um,
He also lost to Jericho in Japan.
mm, well, I mean, I'm talking about his American record, so. But yeah, and yes, Shota has definitely come out on his own from his like days as a young boy to like taking on Will Ospreay. So
Yep.
yeah, I
That was
agree. I got nothing else to say except yeah, this will be a very good match for both these guys.
if it happens, I'm all for it. All right. So, I have 3 women's matches
Oh,
on the
all right.
card,
Yep.
and they are all singles matches,
Okay.
and they are all championship matches.
Oh.
So, the first one, I guess, that I'll talk about is for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. The champion being CMLL's own Stephanie Vaquer, defending it against Diana Peraza.
Mm.
So, Stephanie Vaquer has been on a roll since she won this championship from Julia because Julia was on the way out, so she needed to drop the belt, and Stephanie Vaquer was the one that did it. She had an absolutely amazing match against Azumi at Windy City Riot. I highly recommend that. She had another great match just this past weekend at Resurgence against Alex Windsor, which I also recommend very much. And yeah, so part of me wanted to put like a Willow in this match or even a Chris Statlander, but I just want Diana Perrazzo to have a big opportunity at this show to showcase what she can do. But you could also even, I mean, I wouldn't put her in this match just because she has a match at Double or Nothing, but you could throw Serena Deeb in there if you wanted to. But I feel like Diana and having this feud with Thunder Rosa should earn something, right? If she wins the feud, she should win the feud, in my opinion. But she should earn something. And they have been teasing Stephanie Vaquer defending this belt in AEW. She's defending it on Strong shows for obvious reasons. It's the Strong Championship. Um, so yeah, I just think this would be a really fun match between two great, technically sound wrestlers.
Yeah, I can't speak too much on Stephanie Fakir. I can speak a little more on Diana Perrazzo. Obviously, a long record in TNA as a 3-time knockouts women champion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, former
ROH.
former Ring of Honor women's world champion, former AAA Reina de Reinas championship. Diana's appeared on a AAA show before.
Yep.
Done some appearances there. Yeah, since she's come to AEW, I mean, she had a good match against Tony Storm. Didn't win the AEW Women's title. Now
Yes.
is in a feud with Thunder Rosa.
Yep.
So you know, hey, why not? Want to feature her in like facing off against one of New Japan's female champions? There you go.
Yeah. So the next match is a match that I think we all kind of see happening. And so this could also be some kind of tag match, but in recent weeks, we've had Tony Storm and Mariah May kind of evolve their relationship.
Okay.
And in response to that, Stardom's Mina Shirakawa has also showed up in AEW to come to Mariah's aid, going as so far as to kiss her
Mm-hmm.
and drink champagne with her
Mm.
on multiple occasions.
Yep.
um so obviously this is happening for a reason, right?
Yeah.
We're building to something with Tony Storm and Mariah, but considering that this is Forbidden Door and we're involving Stardom, I think that it's only right that we have Tony Storm defend the AEW Women's World Championship against Mina Shirakawa. Um, and of course, Mariah will be caught in the middle for obvious reasons.
Mm.
It's Tony Storm who is like considered her current idol, and then Mina Shirakawa, who is the person that helped her in Stardom to get to the level that she's at. Her and I obviously I've talked about this in the past multiple times. Mariah May started her wrestling career in Stardom teaming with Mina Shirakawa in Club Venus with Zaya Brookside as well. And they were tag team champions together. They really got close while she was over there as partners. And yeah, they've been teaming recently. They teamed on the Stardom US show in Philadelphia. They and yeah, Mina's been showing up a lot here and there when she can come to America since she still has to work in Japan. And yeah, I think it's just makes sense to have this match, have Mariah be the person that's like in the middle. And does she have to choose a side, or does she like leave? Does she, when the match is over, does she leave by herself because she doesn't know who to pick, kind of thing? And it's obviously going to start the rift between her and Tony.
Yeah. I think this would be a good point to start that off, and then possibly culminating in a match at All Out.
Yeah,
Whether it's for like the women's title or not, because you could have somebody built up well enough to have taken the title off Tony
well,
in between.
everybody's kind of been saying for a while that this story with Tony Storm and Mariah May is leading to kind of like a mentor mentee type of Mickey James Stratus
Mm.
situation where she is trying to get in with her idol and she turns on her or something, or her idol turns on her, something along those lines, and beats her for the belt. Is that the road that we're going down? I have no way of knowing. I think it would make sense because it's been very clear to a lot of people that every time Mariah May gets in the ring, she is great. And it would be a big boost to her career to be the one to end this reign of Tony Storm down the line. So yeah, I think it just makes sense to have this match.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
And I think it would be highly entertaining considering Tony Storm's mannerisms, of course. And then from what I've seen of Mina Shirakawa on AEW television, she has a bit of a fun side to her, I guess is the best way to describe it. So
Bubbly.
bubbly.
Yeah.
Just wondering how those two kind of personalities clash in the
Yeah.
ring. Because Tony Storm's matches these days is not so much as wrestling, is more just like entertainment. So
Yes, but
um,
her Thunder Rosa match was the best match that she's had in this character.
mm,
It's one of my favorite matches all this year, um, so far. So I would think that Tony is, she knows what she's doing, obviously. So yeah, we'll see where that, if that happens down the line, or how that plays out. But all right, so the next match, the last women's match that I have, and this match kind of fell in my lap, right? So originally, I was thinking that obviously Mercedes Monet is going to be on this show,
mhm.
right? And originally, my thought was she should have a rematch with Mayu Iwatani, because Mayu Iwatani took the IWGP Women's Championship from her in her third match in Stardom, and it would just make sense to have a rematch here. But then I had a thought, right? Tam
Okay.
Nakano, Tam Nakano has been working more American shows recently,
Yep.
and there's actually a story in place here. So Tam Nakano recently did an interview talking about how at the Wrestle Kingdom where Mercedes debuted, she took the shine away from her and Kyrie having a match on Wrestle Kingdom, which has never happened before. And she resents Mercedes for that. At the same time, before and this is going to happen before this episode comes out, and we've talked about this offline, Willow is defending the TBS championship before Double or Nothing against Tam Nakano.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that you bring that up, I'm like, I we should have mentioned that yes, Willow is going over to Stardom and defending a AEW championship in that show.
Yes, on the
Yeah.
18th of this month.
Hmm.
So most likely this episode is going to come out either the day of that show. So the show will have happened by
Right.
then.
Yeah.
But yes, so Tam Nakano is getting an opportunity at the TBS Championship on the 18th of May against Willow before Double or Nothing. And with Tam Nakano doing that interview where she discussed that Mercedes took the shine away from her and Kyrie having that match at Wrestle Kingdom, and the fact that she already has resentment for Mercedes, it only makes sense that she does that again at this upcoming Stardom show. And that sets up them having a match at Forbidden Door where I presume Mercedes will be defending the TBS championship,
Hmm.
because I presume that the match between Willow and Tam Nakano will be some kind of screwy finish because of Mercedes,
Okay, that would make sense.
warranting Tam Nakano getting another shot at the belt, but this time against Mercedes. So again, this story kind of just happened on its own. You could call it long-term storytelling if you want, but the fact that Tam Nakano did that interview just days before this Willow match just seems to make the most sense that it's happening.
Yeah, they
Um,
really string things together when they brought in Mercedes. You know, um, you know, the thing that she had some interactions. So her first match is against Willow, who, as we all know, whether you blame Willow, I don't think people blame Willow for what happened with Mercedes and her injury.
No, it was an accident.
Yeah, but it just so happened that Willow was the opponent that night.
Yeah.
So it kind of comes full circle with the Double or Nothing match. Now you brought up the whole match with Tam Nakano that's happening a week or so before. So it's almost like, I mean, I was expecting Mercedes to win the TBS championship at this point. Like, no offense to Willow's.
I think everybody's expecting that.
And work, but
they don't expect Mercedes to lose her debut.
Yeah, a debut match like that's So definitely, it's like adding in the whole possibility of Mercedes like running in during that Nakano versus Willow match is like do a screwy dusty finish would be like just a little icing on the cake almost. Wouldn't necessarily need that, but you kind of for those people who paid attention, they do kind of like they followed along and they realize, oh yeah, maybe this is leading up to that in Forbidden Door.
Well, I didn't even know about Tam Nakano having that resentment towards Mercedes for the Wrestle Kingdom thing.
Oh,
that article literally just happened. Like today's the 15th again, as we said, time of recording. I believe that article came out either today or the day before. So she must have did that to set this up. I could only assume. So yeah, obviously they're laying the groundwork for that to happen, because you don't just say that and then have Forbidden Door coming up and not do it, in my eyes. And I've seen a lot of people make this connection on Twitter, so I just think it makes the most sense to do it. And yeah, I think it would be a really fun match because Tam Nakano is great. She is, of course, a former World of Stardom champion. She had to relinquish the belt due to injury, and that's when the current champion, Micah, won it in a tournament. But yeah, Tam Nakano is great. Go out of your way to watch some of her matches if you haven't, because she is a great wrestler, and she would have a great match with Mercedes, who, as we all know, is really good at this wrestling thing. So, yeah, I don't think there's a guarantee that you'll have 3 women's singles matches. Obviously, this is me doing wishful thinking, right?
Well, now that you've picked 3, at least one of them is going to happen.
Well, of course, but I think I think most likely you're more possibly going to see the Mercedes match and the Toni Storm match. But again, we talked about the fact that there could be some kind of multi-woman match where Toni Storm, Mina Shirakawa, and Mariah May team together against a trio of Stardom talent, or against a trio of Stardom talent and AEW talent. And that kicks off some kind of storyline. It doesn't necessarily mean that Mina and Toni need to have a championship match. That's just what I would prefer.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on, got a couple more. And I guess you would consider these the big ones. So the next one, and I guess keeping with tradition. So the International Championship was introduced in a Fatal 4-Way. The first champion, Pac, was crowned in a Fatal 4-Way. Then the following year, we had another Fatal 4-Way. So I assume that it's safe to say we're going to have another Fatal 4-Way. And we have an international championship match coming up at Double or Nothing, where Will Ospreay will be challenging the current champion, Roderick Strong. And we've talked about this in the past. I'm very up in the air on whether Will Ospreay will win that belt. But I don't think you can have Forbidden Door and not have Will Ospreay on the show. Right? So I think that Will Ospreay is going to win that belt and defend it in a Fatal 4-Way. Now, the guys that I put in here, I think there's really no connection to any of them. It was just kind of like, oh, I think these people deserve to have this opportunity on this show. So the guys that I put 2 New Japan guys and another AEW guy. I think
Okay.
that's kind of been the norm.
Mm-hmm.
So I put Shingo Takagi, Samoa Joe, and Tom Lawler. Now the reason I put Tom Lawler was because last year he was supposed to have a main card show,
Right.
a main card match, and that got scrapped
Mm-hmm.
because of Adam Cole's injury or illness. I think it was illness at the time. But and then he just had a dark match where that did not air against Serpentico.
Mm. Yep.
So I put Tom Lawler in here just because I think he deserves that opportunity. Samoa Joe kind of doesn't have a lot going on right now. We saw him on the 15th of May 15th episode of Dynamite confronting Hook over this stupid Jericho stuff. I don't but I mean I guess he could be involved in that, but I put this together before that happened. And Shingo Takagi, I just love and is one of my favorite talents, and I would love to see him in another match with Will Ospreay because him and Will Ospreay have amazing matches. Go out of your way to watch their match that happened in it was either Progress or Rev Pro. It was the show where Jericho showed up and attacked Will Ospreay.
Yeah. I remember seeing a clip of that. That's a good prediction. I would maybe change it up a little. I mean, I would predict. I
So
mean,
I played with the idea.
I feel like somehow Roddy is gonna weasel his way back to get a rematch, but then suddenly it just becomes this fatal 4-way. So maybe I'll
Yeah,
replace Joe with Roddy.
that's very possible.
I'll leave Shingo, but just for kicks, I'll throw in Evo as the fourth
Yeah,
man.
I mean I have something for him.
Unless you picked Evo for something else.
I do have something for him.
So,
But I played with the idea of before Darby Allen came back, including Hiromu in this match. I also played with the idea of putting Yoda Suji in this match. But I didn't want to have 2 Lij guys in this match
oh
because I already got Shingo in there.
yeah. Okay.
And then I played with the idea of putting Yuya in this match.
Yes, Yuya Yumura. Definitely since his return from his TNA excursion has definitely become a much more rounded wrestler.
And he's been having great matches with the likes of Yoda Suji, where he got a haircut,
Yep.
and yeah, so that I just like I said, I kind of put Tom Lawler in there because I felt bad for him, and because of last year, um, and yeah, I just want to see Will Ospreay and Shingo go at it again. So, and again, and like you said, it's very possible that Roderick Strong could just be in this match and not Samoa Joe. But I just threw Samoa Joe in there, not knowing that he would later get involved in this Hook Jericho BS. So we'll see what happens. But obviously, Will Ospreay is known for having classic matches in general, but he's also known for having classic matches on this show.
Yeah. And remember, just to finish your point about Jericho. Jericho, it's the Jericho vortex now, so everybody's getting sucked in, including people like Samoa Joe and Hook and
Yes,
Shibata, whoever else is within the vicinity.
and Big Bill
Big
and
Bill, yeah.
uh,
And too
Hope.
bad Ricky Starks isn't like swept up. Ricky Starks has just disappeared off the face of the earth, apparently.
Unless he's hurt. I mean, we don't know if he is, but
Oh well, a lot of rumors are flying around. You know, the last time they fought, it was just Ricky went on publicly and just said, "Yeah, I went to get my physical. That's what happened." And then,
yeah, well, nobody knows. Ricky
but
is one of those people that likes to play games on social media. So,
yeah, but a lot of people are like speculating because he's friendly with CM Punk, or he said friendly
uh,
CM Punk things. They're just gonna
yeah, that's what people do is they assume. All right,
anyway.
all right. So the next match, and I think this is a match that I think we all kind of expect to happen at some point. So why not do it here? Um, so Brian Danielson was supposed to face Zack Sabre Jr. at the first Forbidden Door, and he was hurt.
Mm, mm.
So then last year he had the dream match for the very
WrestleMania.
first time
Yep.
against Okada.
Oh yes.
So I felt it was only fitting that this is where we do Bryan Danielson versus Hiroshi Tanahashi.
Oh. So, well, okay. You know what? You surprised me there because I thought we were gonna run back the Zack Sabre Jr. versus Bryan Danielson.
No. I have something
I know
else
we
for
saw
him.
that. I was thinking to myself, okay, we saw that at Wrestle Dream, but then like I remember the finish. It was
They
like,
they did a rematch at
yeah,
New
but
and
I was thinking, didn't they do another match subsequently, and then they kind of like acknowledged each other's respect or whatever something afterwards?
they had a rematch at New Japan's New Beginning show,
Right, that's it.
which was the better match.
Yes.
Um, but yes, I think that Bryan Danielson is going to have this match with Tanahashi. I mean, so last year Tanahashi had a rough night against MJF. Unfortunately, he was not in the best physical condition at the time. Um, but Tanahashi is still having great matches if he is fully prepared and healed up.
And I think because he has that time to heal up, because Tanahashi, since that show, has now become the president of New Japan, or
Yes,
is it Bushi Road? I can't remember the company name, but I think he's like
uh-huh.
the acknowledged president of New Japan Pro Wrestling.
But he is
So he has,
still having matches.
yeah. But my point is because of his time split off with corporate duties, and which probably gives him the time to sort of recover from for like a good match, because right now I believe he's still technically a never open weight 6-man champion, but this time with
Yes,
Ishii and like some other guy that I don't know.
Bolton
Um,
Oleg.
yeah, when I look at his photo, I look at this looks like a Vladimir Kozlov ripoff.
Bolton Oleg is a former power lifter. I believe he's German.
Oh,
I don't remember. But he was in the Young Lion system for a little while.
oh,
Uh,
Oleg Bolton.
well,
A cat.
that's his
Cat,
real name,
but he's billed as. Hold on, let me see.
Bolton Oleg.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Okay,
yes.
that's what it is. Whatever.
His real name is Oleg Bolton. His ring name is Bolton Oleg.
Are you sure? I'm looking at his Wikipedia article and it says his ring name is Oleg Bolton.
No, it's Bolton Oleg.
Okay, whatever. I don't know. I'll take your word for it. You watch New Japan more than I do. You definitely that would
Yeah.
definitely confirm it. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
wait, no,
So
hold on. No, sorry, it's not Ishii. I thought Ishii was his tag was their tag partner. It's actually Toru Yano and Bolton Oleg and Hiroshi Tanahashi. That's a hell of a 6-man. That's a hell of a never open weight 3-man
well,
team.
uh, his partner used to be Okada.
Yeah, exactly. What a downgrade. You go from Okada and Ishii to like the comedy act and the freestyle amateur wrestler.
Yeah. But yes, so I think Bryan Danielson is going to continue his run of having these matches against legends and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
he needs to
And
ramp it up. He promised his family that this would like be his likely his last year as a full-time competitor.
yes, but he's also said that he plans to, even after that happens, to still
Oh
have
no, I know.
10 matches a year.
Yeah, like 10 matches a year. Oh, that's basically a normal schedule for him at that point.
Yes.
Because if
But
you
but yes, so I just think it makes sense to have this match here. Um I mean, obviously I played with the idea of him facing like Sonata
mm,
or even facing Shingo, because that would be great. But yeah, I think it just makes sense for him to face Tanahashi here, considering the status of Tanahashi and the status of Bryan Danielson in the current landscape. It just makes
yeah,
sense to have the
yeah.
match.
I mean, they have like they both know what it's like to take on like additional responsibilities in a wrestling company. Danielson, of course, is the chief fine officer, or I mean, sorry, chief enforcement officer, or what I call him, the disher out of fines.
Sure.
But yeah, sure, whatever, right?
Uh-huh.
And not as much responsibility as the president of an entire wrestling promotion, but still,
Uh-huh.
yeah, yep. Anyway, yeah, that would,
Well,
but a dream match nonetheless in any capacity. Tanahashi versus Danielson.
yeah. All right. So the next match, and so I was kind of going back and forth on what to put Okada in
Mm,
because I think the rest of, and I'll talk about his elite brethren right after this, because I have them in a multi-man match, but I didn't want to put him in another multi-man match because he's having one at Double or Nothing. So I was thinking back to Kazuchika Okada and who he has faced in his New Japan run. I mean, he's faced everybody that's there right now, really. That's a big name. But there's one person that beat him and Okada never got a rematch. Sonata.
oh, mm,
So Sonata became the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion at Sakura Genesis when he beat Okada.
mm,
And that is the last time that they had a singles match. They have not faced each other since the time that Sonata beat him for the belt. And they've also never faced each other in America. They've only faced each other in Japan. I played with the idea of having an Okada Tanahashi match here just because of the magnitude of that match and the history that it carries. But they have faced each other in America multiple times.
mm-hmm,
Sonata has kind of stepped aside since losing the world title
yep,
and is kind of just running with just five guys and doing a lot of multi-man matches. And I think it would be cool to see these two go at it again, this time in America. And you could even do it for the Continental Championship if you want, which means no interference, which means a
mm,
better match.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, and I think it would just make sense to have this match and for Okada to get his win back on Sonata, who he didn't get to do that because it was one of those things in New Japan, right? If you beat Okada, Okada is definitely beating you the next time you face him. That always happened in New Japan, always. Um, but not with Sonata. Sonata never faced him again. So I just think it would be cool to have this match again because I love Sonata. He's great. He's always been great. And of course, Kazuchika Okada is one of the goats in the wrestling world right now. So yeah, I mean, and it doesn't it just feels odd that you're having a Kazuchika Okada match on a New Japan co-promoted show and he's representing AEW,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. It's kind of it will take some getting used to because Okada he basically was New Japan for years, and now
2012 to 2024.
yeah, like a dozen years being the face of New Japan Pro Wrestling on multiple occasions, multiple time champion, multiple time tournament
And
winner,
it got to the point where
G1 climax.
he was the lull Okada wins.
Yeah,
Like that was a thing in New Japan. Lull Okada wins. Lull Okada wins. That was that was a big problem in New Japan.
yeah.
Uh, but now he's doing this character with the elite, this evil heel character, and he's been on another level. He's been having great match after great match. His match with Pac was very good. His match, like we just watched him have a great match with Dax Harwood,
Hmm.
which is great. And yeah, I just think it would be really cool to see these two go at it again, considering they haven't done so since Sonata won the world title. So, all right. So I foreshadowed it, so I'll talk about it now. The Elite, the Young Bucks, and Jack Perry. I have them in a multi-man match. Now, again, I put this down before the May 15th Dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
So this could obviously not happen or change or something because I still have Eddie Kingston in it. And I don't know how long Eddie Kingston is injured.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a multi-man match. I have the Young Bucks and Jack Perry teaming with members of House of Torture, Evil and Show to take on the team of Eddie Kingston, FTR, Ishii, and Bishamon. So you have Eddie Kingston teaming with FTR again, also teaming with a guy that he teamed with last year alongside the Young Bucks in Ishii. And then you have Ishii's Chaos Brethren in Bishamon, who have a history with FTR. So kind of just creating a connection between the fact that Jack Perry is technically still a member of House of Torture and
Right.
including House of Torture teaming with them against this team of I think that's too many people. Wait.
Yeah. Okay. So let me try to recap here. This is essentially a 10-man tag, right? You've got
I think I
the
got
Bucks.
I think I made a mistake.
No, you got
So
the yeah. I was like Bishamon, isn't that a tag team in itself?
yes. So
Yeah.
I
So
would
okay. So
probably
let me. So you got the Bucks and Jack
take out
Perry.
Eddie Kingston because he's
Okay.
hurt.
Okay. So the Bucks and Jack Perry teaming with Jack Perry's house friends from the House of Torture, Evil and Show
That's 5.
against. Yeah, that's 5. And then you've got FTR
Ishii
and
and Bishamon.
Ishii and Bishamon. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on paper, I didn't realize that I had 6 people on the other team. I kind of just put it together and I was like, okay, this will work. But you could also, even if that was the case, you could put another House of Torture member in there.
Yeah.
But if Eddie Kingston is hurt for a long time, then you can take Eddie Kingston out of there for obvious reasons. So yeah, I mean, if that is the case, if this was the case, I would put another House of Torture member in there. I guess I would put Ren Narita or Ren Narita because he's kind of been used a lot recently. He's been carrying this stupid club around and using it in all of his matches. So obviously I'm a Bullet Club fan. I've always been a Bullet Club fan. House of Torture is a extension of Bullet Club.
Right.
And they're just interference in every single match. And it's just getting tired. Nobody
So they're
likes
like, so it's like the bloodline.
Yes, it's literally every single match that any member has is interference in every single match. You got if Show has a match, Evil is showing up and messing with the referee. If Evil has a match, Show is showing up. If Ren Narita has a match, Evil is showing up, or Dick Togo is showing up, or Kanemaru is showing up. It's ridiculous.
They sound like a bit of an outlier with all the other stables in New Japan because like I don't hear a lot about like other like these sort of interferences in between matches, even if there's like two guys from different factions facing off against each other.
And
Like if United Empire came out for a Jeff Cobb match, the rest of them would be like at ringside, just like fanning the guy and like giving him water, but they wouldn't be like
but
outright
literally
interfering.
when Show won the junior heavyweight title, it was because Evil got involved. And the same thing with like Ren Narita having a shot at John Moxley. And like all these things are just happening because all of their teammates are getting involved, and it's just overbooking that nobody this is not something that New Japan does. New
Yeah.
Japan just started doing this with House of Torture, but again, I put these together because Jack Perry is associated with House of Torture. Young Bucks are, by extension, associated with the Bullet Club. And even though War Dogs and House of Torture do not interact ever, literally ever, I can't remember the last time that happened.
I mean, at this point, I mean, yeah. See, I always thought the House of Torture was strictly based in Japan, but now that we've got Jack Perry as a member, that's
Yeah.
definitely opened the door, pun not intended, to
Yes.
have the House of Torture make their debut in AEW.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at this point, like maybe they've just quietly, um, without even mentioning it publicly, just quietly kind of like phase them into two different factions without them having to do anything to
Yeah.
acknowledge that on screen. It's just like, yeah, they're their own,
Yeah.
they're their own thing now. It's like whatever.
Yeah. So I think that this is just what the Young Bucks do with these shows, is have these big multi-man matches, and that's fine. So yeah, I mean, unless this feud is over at Anarchy in the Arena, but I assume it
I
isn't going to
doubt
be
it.
over. Yeah,
I doubt it.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I have FTR and essentially members of Chaos
Mm.
teaming together against House of Torture and the Elite. So yeah, and I'm sure that match will be fine. But is Kanemaru going to be there and just spit alcohol at people like he does in every match? Is freaking Ren Narita going to be there and hit people with his stupid club?
You're gonna be there in Long Island, but I think because you watch this stuff more consistently, you are probably more bothered by it than the people who at AEW who just attend and like seeing these guys
Well,
for the first time and
New
they're like,
Japan, New
oh, bad
Japan
guys, they
fans,
interfere, whatever.
New Japan fans know.
Ah,
All right, so we're down to the big two.
okay.
The two world title matches. So we'll start with the IWGP, and
I
this
think
is
I
a
know where you're going with this.
well. I mean, you
Sort
you
of.
know you know who I haven't mentioned yet, and I
Y-
talked about him a little earlier.
Yeah.
So recently, Zack Sabre Jr. won back the TV title because apparently the experiment with Matt Riddle was not working out. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's the case or not, so don't quote me on that. Because I'm not a reporter.
Okay.
I just read the reports.
Uh-huh. Okay.
But the reason that Zack Sabre Jr. won the belt back in the first place was because they didn't want to keep it on Matt Riddle. uh, so then Zack Sabre Jr. wins it back after having a year-long reign where he loses it to Tanahashi, who loses it in his first defense to Matt Riddle.
Okay.
And then Zack Sabre Jr. wins it back, only to lose it in his first defense since winning it back against Jeff Cobb.
Yep.
So now Jeff Cobb is the TV champion,
Yep.
and Zack Sabre Jr. has gone out of his way to say in interviews that he is watching Jon Moxley and is preparing for Jon Moxley and preparing to challenge for that belt. And I think that this show is where you should have that. Not only because
John Moxley versus Zack Sabre Jr. for the
for the
IW.
IWGP
Okay.
World Heavyweight
I see.
Championship. Correct.
Oh,
Yes.
well, that sounds like a good match. I mean, that would be an interesting. And there's some connection there. You know, Zack faced Moxley's friend Brian Danielson before in the Blackpool Combat Club.
And Claudio.
Now, and Claudio. So Zack was probably doing a thing where he's facing every member of the Blackpool Combat Club as well.
Sure.
You know, so this is where I might want to opine a little bit, this because I kind of did follow this. So there's a guy, I'm not as familiar with him as you are. We probably mentioned him before, Yoda Tsuji.
Yeah.
He's from LIJ.
Mhm.
he made some comments recently upon after John Moxley became the won the IWGP World Title, and said that he was kind of I guess to paraphrase him, he said he was upset that New Japan's title is on a foreigner. I guess some words to that effect, or somebody who's
Mm-hmm.
not from New Japan.
Yes.
So I was like, eh. I'm sure it makes more sense with this match to take place more in a New Japan setting down the
Well,
road.
yes, because Yota Tsuji just recently at Resurgence had his first ever match in America.
Oh,
He had never wrestled outside of Japan before,
interesting.
before Resurgence. So that's why I was going back and forth about putting Yota Tsuji on this show at all, because I don't know if he's gonna be there because he doesn't travel a lot.
Mm.
Um, but I do think that John Moxley and Yota Tsuji is a match that will happen at some point. I
But
mean,
I mean, alternatively, if we wanted to spice it up a bit, you want to why don't we make this like a triple threat match?
you can,
Moxley, Suji, Zack Sabre Jr.
yeah, you can do that. So yeah, I think that either way, I think obviously Zach is coming for that belt. He wants the world title. He's past the TV title. He's past the open weight title. The
Yeah.
US title.
Yep. Yep.
He wants to be the top guy. And he deserves to be the top guy at some point. Does he beat Moxley? I don't know. Because obviously we were discussing when he was announced to be challenging Naito that it just made sense for Moxley to win the belt because Forbidden Door was coming up. But also, we don't know if Moxley wants to travel to Japan as frequently as he has to defend this belt. Obviously, he will continue to defend it at strong shows with Capital Collision coming up and the Resurgence match that we talked about earlier with Shota. So yeah, I just think that it would be really. I love Zack Sabre Jr. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world, and John Moxley is one of my all-time favorite wrestlers ever. So yeah, I would just really think this match would be great to see, and yeah. All right, so the last match is the main event, I guess. Would it be? I guess it would be. It's the AEW Championship.
Yeah.
So I mean, last year, uh, Danielson and Okada was the main event,
Right.
but the AEW World Championship, Swerve Strickland, who I don't expect to lose it to Christian,
Yeah. Whatever.
uh, uh, defending against Tetsuya Naito.
Ah. Okay. I was
So
wondering who you're picking because I was like scrolling through the roster. I was wondering, okay, Okada's gone from the New Japan roster. So like, who is the star power? And I was juggling in my mind. I was like thinking, Penta. I'm like, that
no,
would be interesting. But I'm
not
like,
Kenta.
I was like, Kenta hasn't really done anything to climb up to that level. But I'm like, yeah, Naito, like
Yes,
your literal former IWGP World Champion, just recently. So
yes.
yeah,
So
that's it.
I
Nobody
just
else.
so obviously you want Swerve to have a big name match against somebody from New Japan.
Mhm.
Obviously, he could have that match against Okada, but Okada's in AEW now. He could have that big match against Osprey here, but I think they want to save that for down the line. Um, so yeah, I just think that it would make the most sense to have probably the most popular guy currently in New Japan against the current AEW World Champion. Um, and you know, it's very possible that Naito isn't on the show again because first year he wasn't on the show. So, but I just think that that's a match that people want to see. I think people want to see Swerve have that opportunity to face somebody like Naito. Not necessarily this being a dream match, right? But just on paper, it could be a hell of a match. because Swerve is just on another level. He's more over than anybody ever. He's full on babyface now. He's full on just guy everybody wants to root for. And yeah, I and you could also possibly see the return of Hangman,
Mm,
but I don't think that that would happen during the match. I think that would happen after the match because Swerve needs to retain.
yeah. Dream match.
Um,
I would say dream match, as you said on paper. Um, definitely something. Definitely something to see. Um, I don't know if you have time to for me to kind of ask, maybe make my own kind of minor predictions. They're not exactly like a match that I'm adding. Well, one of them kind of is. I mean, to what extent is CMLL's involvement in this? Like, would you predict how much of that?
well,
Because
I mean,
they already did the multi 4-man tags with CMLL versus the BCC and all that stuff already.
yes, and they announced at Resurgence that Fantastica Mania is happening in America.
Mm.
Um,
At the same time.
well, not during
Right.
this
Okay.
show.
Uh
They
huh.
just announced that it's happening, but I think
Oh,
that's happening in like July.
okay.
Um,
Well.
but yeah, I mean, because I also so when putting this card together, I was reading on some things that Brian Danielson said, right?
Okay.
And he has talked about wanting to wrestle Mystico,
Yeah.
but I think he wants to do that in Mexico.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I believe you. Yeah, you mentioned that. Because the
Uh,
only reason I'm asking this is I know, like, okay, strip it away any sort of like backstage politics or decades long animosity between companies. Uh, I was predicting something like with Penta, Phoenix, and Commander if he's healthy, and maybe some fourth luchador that AEW has on their roster, taking on a bunch of CMLL guys. Just wondering.
so
But I understand there was some issue with, like, because Penta and Phoenix regularly work with AAA, so it's like they didn't want to work with guys with AAA affiliations, CMLL. So I don't even know if that's even a possibility at this point.
yeah, there has been multiple reports in the past that the people who work for AAA do not want to be on the same card as people from CMLL and vice versa.
Hmm.
There is a legitimate rivalry between those two promotions because they both want to be the best promotion in Mexico.
Hmm.
So they do not play well at all. There have been shows where there are talent from both on other shows, but they would not go against each other.
Right. And the way you describe it, this sounds like it's not just a kayfabe wrestling beef. This is like legitimate
Yes.
issues that are like borderline
Yes.
gang warfare style kind of shit.
I mean, just your standard company versus company feud that don't want to play together.
Yeah, it's something that hard for me to personally wrap my head around. It's like, we talk about shunning tribalism and all that stuff here in North America, and to me, it's almost like this, like Coke doesn't go after Pepsi or, like, slashes their tires or anything. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
there's peaceful coexistence. It's a free market, and
Uh,
I don't know what it's like down in Mexico, but it's like, I mean, you have two thriving companies. Why not let people in Mexico just enjoy what they like to enjoy?
yeah. I don't know. Mexico is different. I guess I don't know too much about Mexico. Every once in a while, I will watch a AAA show or watch a CMLL show, but I don't know enough to understand the politics.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just an idea
Uh,
I was thinking in the back burner.
yeah. So the New Japan CMLL Fantastica Mania show is in July, and it is taking place in Shocker, California. Um. So yeah. We'll see what happens, but again, every year we I put together a card for this show, hoping yes,
Yeah.
just so every little peek behind the curtain here, people. Alan did nothing except show up.
Look, okay, okay. I'll contribute to one more thing, and like it's sort of like an elephant in the room that hasn't been discussed, and I'm surprised you didn't bring it up at this point. Forbidden Door is taking place in your hometown, Long Island, right?
Yes.
Our former AEW champion is one of Long Island's most beloved people, MJF. I have to think that if they didn't do this at Dynasty, there has to be some kind of MJF thing happening in Long
Uh,
Island. Like, are you?
I
Do you have a feeling? Like, I'm not saying MJF's gonna wrestle anybody.
well, no,
I'm
I'm
just
not
saying,
saying that
like,
at all.
is he gonna pop up at some point and be like, maybe even after the main event, it's like Swerve
Well,
standing over, victorious over
it's
Naito, and then
very. I
suddenly,
mean, it's very possible, but there's no way of knowing
yeah,
because there's been no update
it's like,
on how he's feeling, how if he's healed up in any
yeah, because I
way.
heard actually that
Um,
recently he actually needed surgery after all. They thought you could just heal up on his own,
and
but
he had multiple injuries. He had a shoulder. I think he had a knee. So yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't have my ear to the ground or anything. I'm not. Uh, but there's been nothing. There's been no like hinting or just, and I know that that's a thing that people are going to think just because it's in on Long Island that oh surely he's going to show up, but I don't think that's necessarily the case if he's not able to do anything. Um, but because he's not going to go the route of like an Adam Cole who does a wheelchair gimmick,
yeah.
or um, but I mean that's technically not a gimmick. He was really hurt, so. But yeah, I don't know. Uh, I don't know. Um, would it be cool to see him back? Obviously, everybody wants MJF back. It'd be cool for him to show up at this show in Long Island, even though he has a history of not caring about New Japan at all. um, but yeah, I honestly right now I can't say yes or no, but I no idea.
Well, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, based on what your predictions are, if even half of this stuff gets booked, it would be an
So
amazing show.
I am pretty confident about Moxley and Saber, uh, Monet and Nakano, and uh, I'll just say it: the Bullet Club versus Bullet Club. I just feel like, what are you waiting for? Just do it. Everything else, I think, is up in the air. But yeah, I think you're definitely going to see that Mercedes versus Nakano match for sure. That, if anything, that is the one that I think is going to happen out of everything that I have discussed.
Okay, cool.
But again, the last couple, I mean, so last year we got a match that I picked in year one, and uh, I think the same thing. I think that has happened multiple times. But yeah. And if this is the year for Darby and Hiromu, I will take it. But again, like I said earlier, if it doesn't happen, I'm just gonna keep predicting it until it does.
Yeah, well, yeah, you know what they say, persistence pays off eventually.
Yes. So that is going to do it for us today. That is our AEW X New Japan Forbidden Door 2024 card predictions, and we will see how we do, obviously. And yeah, look out for everything that we are doing here at Going Over Big Time Podcast. We are, of course, getting into the Double or Nothing season, as it is, as it were. And me and Alan have discussed, and I think it's happening. We are going to once again do our theme songs tournament that we did last year with Tanner. We have to nail that down because we have to have Tanner there to do
Yeah.
it. uh, so we will plan that out and figure it out, and hopefully Tanner will be able to participate, and because that was a lot of fun, and I think that was our most listened to episode ever.
Mm.
So, but yeah, that's going to do it for us. Make sure to check our link tree out at linktree / going over big time podcast. It has every single way to listen / watch this show, as well as our individual social medias, our Facebook, our podcast Twitter page, all the good stuff. So that is going to do it for me. Alan, do you have any parting words?
No, just watch the wrestling you love watching, and don't let people tell you otherwise what to watch. I mean, just try to enjoy life and this wonderful thing we have here, and really don't let tribalism get in the way, because it's just a fucking stupid concept in
Mhm.
wrestling of all things. Like, I mean, people out there, like, get over yourselves. Like, just watch what we're all better off when all the companies are thriving. So there you go.
Yep, and I fully agree. So that is going to do it for us. Have a good one, everybody.